7, Ambulance 18, remaining units status, terminating command, you can have attack channel, Battalion 2 is ready. Top Battalion 2, 1307.
Guys here in Washington, D.C., listening to some scanner traffic on Saturday, April 4th, 2020. I plan on doing several videos this weekend covering this crisis that we have in our country and around the world. And many of you know my situation. I'm away from home base. I'm here in Washington, D.C. in downtown. We're here for the next 2+ weeks. So to get treatment for my wife. And so we're off on the weekends. Our radiation treatments are only Monday to Friday, so we're off on the weekends. And that's when I have more time to do some videos, some research and stuff like that. Although I do many during the week as well because I'm not working right now. So today I'm just going to look for some key articles and also repost some videos that I have done on my channel over the years. I've been on YouTube since the beginning of 2009, so I think there's about 1,400 videos plus on my channel. A lot of them have to do with prepping, readiness, survival, things like that, economic collapse, different types of scenarios. And so you've seen in the past couple of days I reposted some that had to do with water. One of them was a review of pool shock and the importance of pool shock. It's a powdered chlorine, sodium hypochlorite, and the one I showed was 72 or 73%. And so that product can be made into usable bleach solution as you need it. So it can be stored on the shelf in a ventilated container, preferably like in a garage somewhere. And you make the bleach as you need it. So bleach, as we know, that you buy in the store, I think is shelf stable for about a year, and then it starts losing some of its efficacy, I guess is the word. So it loses its potency. I think these are EMS calls. And so with one bag of that, in that video I bought a case, but with one of those bags, one of those small bags, I think you could do between 12 and 16,000 gallons of, you could purify or sanitize up to 16,000 gallons of water. Just think of that. Just think of having something like that you could make a usable bleach solution, and in the event of a water emergency, what you could do with that. I mean, you could maintain a whole community's water supply with that one bag. And so I believe that's super important, water, because that we take it for granted. It's our number one prep that we need if something goes bad in this country. If the water supply goes down or gets contaminated for any reason, we have to go back to our reserves, what we have in our storage, and then when that runs out, or to supplement that, we need to find our own. And so the other video on the urban gathering of water, the Silcock key. The Silcock key is just a little 4-way key that has different sockets on it, size sockets, that fits most businesses that have, you'll see in the video, that was a college that I was getting the water from. But if you look at drive-through or drive-up businesses like McDonald's, fast food places, and if you walk around their stores, you'll see outside the little box that houses the water supply that's in there, and your Silcock key can open that in an emergency and get you drinkable, potable water. So a $4 or $5 investment in a Silcock key is super handy to have in any part of the city or the suburbs, or even the country. Wherever there's a building, there's usually outside those outlets.
395 northbound 3rd Street tunnel. Single car accident, no MEMS required. Truck 7 is ready.
Car accident.
Please ensure that NPD's been notified.
And then the third video I posted, which is the longer one, was a scenario that I did in Florida when I lived in Florida. That happened to be in a community called Savannah, where we were renting at the time. We had just sold our house, and it was a huge community. I think there were 20,000 residents just in that gated community, but that community had a numerous amount of lakes surrounding it where I would take my kayak and go kayaking. But in that scenario that I posted, it showed that how I would supplement my stored water supplies via a small cart, a 5-gallon bucket, and then taking the proper precautions, walking to the public access area there, gathering the water, sifting it, and pre-filtering it prior to bringing it back home. And then at that time, I was going to use a gravity drip filter that I had, a homemade one that I made on at the time, and then also boil the water with my rocket stove. And then again, I could treat it with some bleach, let it sit, and then add it to my supplies of usable water. And so that, it looked like a tedious process, but it was showing the lengths that one would have to go to collect water that wasn't nearby. So look at where you live now and start scouting around for the nearest water source. Some of us, that's very easy. You have lakes right in your backyard or nearby. And then for others that live in the city, finding a water source can be very difficult in a time where you had to gather some and bring it back home. And then the trip there and back can be an SHTF scenario within itself. If you were doing it in the daytime, you'd be a target more than likely, or a curious. You'd irk people's curiosity. At night, it would be better to do it. You'd have less chance of snipers, people, trying to see what you were doing. But you'd also have to take some security with you, a second person to be security while you gathered the water and took it back. And so that was that video. And then this weekend I plan to look up some others where I made, put together some food reserves like rice and beans and other items in 5-gallon buckets and jars. I have plenty of videos on my channel showing that. And so I'll repost some of those so you guys can see what I did at that time to secure some long-term food supplies. Because guys, listen, when the SHTF happens, and it has happened in this country, we are in a full-blown SHTF, just so you know that. We're in an economic meltdown, a possible financial holocaust that we may never recover from, or we may be a totally different type of society after this. We're looking at 10 million plus people possibly out of work that have filed for unemployment, and those numbers might be low. That might be much higher than that. Now we're looking at a stock market that's propped up artificially. We're looking at a gold and silver market, a metals market that's fluctuating and maybe purposely being pushed down. But for those of us, or for those of you that have not taken precautions and have not listened to this channel and many other channels over the years, and put away tangible items like gold, silver, ammunition, firearms, food reserves, water reserves, and then the ability to gather more water, self-defense items, and then just general tools that you need in a situation, a grid down situation, like simple things like hammers and nails and screws and battery operated screw guns, solar panels, ability to recharge batteries, having rechargeable batteries, having the ability to run LED lights when the power's out, so you can see what you're doing long term, and then replenish that power through your batteries, is something most people have not done. And so I have done that on my channel. So if you scan through my videos, go down my channel and look, you'll see videos on my van, how I converted it with solar, how I have portable solar, how I have rechargeable batteries for flashlights and other items, and the ability to recharge them off the grid via solar, via backup batteries, via like my Goal Zero battery packs. Those are all things that people take for granted, and when they find themselves in need, there's nothing there, because it's important to keep tabs of what's going on around you in the event of civil unrest or something breaking out, so you have a little bit of a heads up on what's going on. And that's why this weekend I'll be listening to this. This is just an app that's on our phone that we have downloaded, so keeps you out of the dark more or less. So getting back to preparing, there's a whole litany of things, and if you watch any preppers on YouTube, you'll see that the good preppers over time, like making small investments in stock or in your bank account or in a passbook savings account, over time you find that you have built up a good amount of reserves. And so that's what a smart preppers have done over the years. Small amounts of survival items over time in different categories. Add up to physical safety, self-reliance, not having to go out on the streets into the marketplace where you could possibly be a victim of not only catching this Chinese communist virus that we have worldwide now, but be subject to robbery or physical harm. And so that's why you prep ahead of time so you don't have to go out. And there's now people trying to make up for lost time. They're having a hard time, finding ammunition. Go online and look at all the ammo companies that are out of ammunition, or the ammo that you could get is higher priced than you normally would pay for it. So that's a difficult scenario. Then you have to wait for it. You don't know. Might be weeks before you receive it. You can go out to like a Gander Mountain or a Bass Pro Shop or something, but their ammo's flying off the shelves just as fast as it comes in. If you didn't have a firearm prior to this and you're trying to get one now, you could have a very hard time or have to wait an inordinate amount of time. I mean, it's still possible, but this stuff, you should have been able to see the writing on the wall and what we were heading towards beforehand. So now a lot of people are finding themselves, they're kicking themselves, I know, and they're panicking, and they're doing stupid things possibly, or they have to go out and expose themselves, and that could be a very bad scenario in the long run. So bless you. So guys, communications, just being able to listen to a scanner or having a portable ham radio like I have with an antenna to be able to listen to what's going on when the emergency traffic nets go online at night and during the day. These are critical items to have. Critical. I know I traveled with just to show you the somebody left a pot in the oven that caused the fire. So these guys are pretty busy today in DC, responding to some stupid stuff that, leaving a pot in the oven or something like that, where maybe they could have been responding to a more serious incident. So having the ability to communicate like a two-way radio, if you get split up from your spouse or your group, you could at least keep in contact with them. Having ham radio or scanner or something to even listen to in the event of a situation like this. Also, I think it's super important right now to keep tabs on what's going on with the undercurrent of these press conferences that are going on, these political moves that are being made, and the undercurrent of what's going on during this crisis that we have in our country. Because we're seeing something on a much larger scale than, a virus or a pandemic has come around. We're going to hunker down till it passes over, and then we're all going to be back to normal again. That is not going to happen, folks. I'm here to tell you we have entered a new paradigm in our country. We have entered uncharted waters in this country. Oh, somebody can't breathe.
5312 East Street Southeast, across the 53rd, dash channel 011, 1324.
Looks like somebody's having trouble breathing. Oof. A lot of stuff going on, guys. So getting back to what I was saying, the undercurrent of what's going on politically, geopolitically, I've talked about in videos all through the years, how we're going to wake up one day, the world's going to be different. Well, that day has come. We've woken up and we're in a different world. We're seeing, I think we're going to see huge financial upheaval in this country just based upon the unemployment numbers and businesses that may never open again, businesses that are not going to be able to get the financing that they need or the loans that they need, because we all know, guys, it ain't going to be easy as they say. You apply to Bank of America or Chase or one of these other banks and they hand you a boatload of money and your business just takes off and running. That's not how it works. Usually it's a long, lengthy process. The banks don't even know what's going on right now. And so usually the people that need it the most don't get it. So get used to that scenario, because it's not going to be as easy as people think. Also, the people that may never go back into the workforce again or for a long time, that are going to be on unemployment. I read an article, and I'll try to find it and post it here in this video, that we as a nation, our president right now, is still allowing up to 85,000 visa type workers into the country. Is that a smart thing to do? I don't think so. I think that should be put on hold right now. We do not need 85,000 more people in the country right now when we have millions of unemployed people of our own right now. We just don't need it. There's no jobs for these people. What are they going to do? I mean, we have to think as a nation and stop being right and left and think of what's best for the nation, what we were founded upon, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence, what our founders really meant when they put this stuff together. Because we're seeing the erosion of freedoms in this country more now than ever. We're looking at tracking, knowing where you are at all times. We're looking at new technologies that are being implemented, tying ankle bracelets on people that have the virus right now, banning or picking on and I call it picking on Christians because that's what it'll end up being, but stopping church functions. And I know you could argue, why the pastor did what he did, I think in the Tampa area, but he did it to make a point, I think, that we're not seeing mosques being closed down. I've seen pictures of hundreds of people outside of mosques today around the country, around the world rather. We're not seeing them clamped down upon. It just always happens to be Christians are the target. And you're going to see that, in my opinion, more and more as we move forward, because this battle is much, much bigger than just a virus that happened or a financial calamity. This calamity is on an epic, global, biblical scale, and we're seeing it played out, and we're living it right now. We're living out biblical prophecy. And so there's no easy answers. There's no easy way out of this. People need to become prayerful. And I just find it funny that the cities asking for the most assistance and help from the federal government are those cities that are the harshest towards the unborn, the most lenient to being sanctuary cities where criminals can get a pass, illegal criminals can get a pass. It just happens to be those cities that are in the most need of help. And why do you think that, guys? You think it's a coincidence? Or do you think it's something else? I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Because, as I said in other videos, God will not be mocked. He is not taken by surprise by all of this. He is mighty to save, yes, but his arm and his judgment and his wrath are swift and very thorough. And so all these people that embrace this love or culture of death that we have in this country, yes, a culture of death we have in this country, the United States of America. And we have people that sit around on the sidelines and let it go by. Why? Because they wasn't bothering them. They've had a lot of money. They have a lot of money. Their 401ks are full. Their bellies are full. Things are looking rosy for them. Why should I get involved? It's the law. I'm just following orders. I'm just following the orders that the government made. That's the law of the land, right? Hey, buddy. Thank you. All right. Go sit down. Go sit down, Logan. Go ahead. Come on. You can't kiss the camera. Go sit down. Lay down. Lay down. You're going to knock everything over. Logan the Whippet. He thinks he's a little puppy. Sit down, guy. There we go. There he goes. He's sitting right by me. What a good, cute little doggy. Pets are great, man. Pets are great. So lovable. But again, guys, getting back to what I was saying, I'm going to cut this video short. It's almost at 25 minutes, but I plan to do more videos this weekend talking about these topics and then reposting some older videos. I ask you to watch them, to make preparations, to not waste this time that you have, especially like on a weekend when things are calmed down a little bit more, where you could put together some things. I was saying before we got cut off on listening to one of these scanner calls that when I traveled here from the Charlotte area, I posted a video of my Lifesaver Jerry Can. I activated it and I took it with me. That Jerry Can is with me right now. That Jerry Can process 2,600 gallons of water that I collect from anywhere in this downtown DC area, and it makes it drinkable and usable. That is something that I bet most people do not have. I would wager that most people in downtown DC right now do not have the ability to process 2,600 gallons of water to make it drinkable and usable for washing or whatever. Yet I have that with me. I traveled with it because I know the importance of water. And when the grid goes down and the water plants stop or something gets polluted and there's a boil alert or something else, I could process that water, filter out bacteria, viruses, etc., and sustain ourselves. Because without water, nothing happens. 3 days without water, guys, you are finished. If you have no ability to purify it or to get safe drinking water, you're finished. All your preps, all your money, all your assets go down the drains if you can't drink clean drinking water. So I'm going to stop this video there, and
Agent 3, Truck 15 Battalion to ambulance 27 respond for the gas order from inside. One person feeling sick. 3318 Clay Street, Maldives, Wilmington. 2783 Truck 15 Battalion 3 ambulance 27 respond for gas order from inside.
I think this is the third call I heard in the last couple of minutes of people feeling sick. It scares you, doesn't it? It really scares you. Not knowing the ramifications of this bioweapon that's been casted upon us. Not knowing the long-term effects on our bodies, the ones that survive and recover from it. Not knowing the ramifications of taking a vaccine that possibly can track you. Guys, this is uncharted territory that we're in right now. I ask you to be mindful and prayerful for this nation, for our turning back to God, for a great awakening, for a 100% reversal, getting back to true worship in Christ, our Savior. Stay ready. Anthony signing off.